So maybe we can start now. Let me just wait a few more seconds. Maybe I'll just start now and people will join in a few seconds. So hi everyone, I'm Rafael Silva and this is the CYWF Fair. And today we're going to interview the founders, some of the founders of the Sciteens team, which has always been a great supporter of this fair and to whom we thank very much. And we'll be in more detail. We'll be interviewing Carlos Marcedo Mercado-Lara and John Sutor from Sciteens. And well, just a few quick notes about them. Carlos is currently studying biological engineering at MIT and has also been focused on creating a YouTube channel that builds elementary level high school projects for high school students. And additionally, he has also participated in a regional science fair where he even got an award when he was at high school, if I'm not mistaken. John is also a rising junior at Florida State University, studying computational science and applied maths, and has worked on research in high school and college, and whose research ranges basically from all the way from biology to machine learning. And with some of friends, John and Carlos co-founded Sciteens in their high school to encourage students to create and participate more in science fair projects. Their mission is to bridge the gap between education and research opportunities, particularly for under-resourced students, by providing them with mentorship and a community on a free online platform. So thank you so much for this great job, and I'm really looking forward to hear more about this. Please, the stage is yours.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for the introduction.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you again for all of you guys for coming to today's event. We're extremely grateful to be here, and I'll go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. Let me know if you can see my screen. That'd be helpful. All right, perfect. Yeah, so for some of you, it might be good morning. For others, good afternoon or good evening. My name is Carlos Mercado. I am a rising junior right now at MIT studying biological engineering, as previously mentioned. But I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida, which is right here. I think I have a pointer. If not, it's where we have the green pointer. And then my parents are from Honduras. So my parents immigrated to the United States. I was born here though, but it's just a quick background of me and where I come from. And yeah, I've been educated and raised in Florida, and also attended public high schools here all the way throughout 12th grade and now university. And then John is also from Florida. Yeah.
Yep. I'm a rising junior at Florida State University.
Yeah, so today's talk, most importantly, we'll be connecting it with Sciteens, but I wanted to start off by mentioning the title of our talk, which was Synaptogenesis and the Future of Pre-Collegiate Research, and how that has to do with Sciteens. And for those of you who don't know what synaptogenesis is, I'll make sure to explain it, but it's just something that we thought was pretty unique in terms of what we consider to be the future of pre-collegiate research. And I'll go ahead and get started with that. So for those of you who don't know, and this is something that really fascinates me, it's that this is an incredible phenomenon that occurs in our brain, which is basically when the neurons are basically the brain cells, they transmit information from one another. And this happens at an insane amount. As I'm talking to you right now, this audio basically is received by your ears, and eventually those chemical signals and electrical signals are converted to what you are able to associate words with what I'm saying and meaning with what's coming out of me, essentially. And I think it's super cool because this is something, right, that happens every day, and it's how we learn. It's how we develop memory. For those of you who have special moments in your lives that you've remembered from like the age that you were 6, or if you're, studying for an exam, these neurons come and help when it comes to just making sure you'll do well. And this resonates with me from a learning perspective specifically. Among all of us in this conversation, like all these individual neurons in our brain, we are waiting to communicate and also learn from one another and essentially build upon what we've had in conversations the day previously. For those of you who've been attending the CYW fair for the past 3 to 4 days, I imagine you've heard a lot of professors, a lot of researchers. Some have resonated more with you. Some haven't resonated as much with you, but some definitely have caught your attention. And I'm sure at the end of this great fair, some of you will take, for instance, a memory or some sort of valuable information that if it wasn't for this great event happening here, you wouldn't have known about that. And connecting that with synaptogenesis specifically, there's this huge explosion of these signals that happens at an early young age. And I like to connect this analogy with how we as students, I mean, John and I are college students right now, but all of us among here, before we're 18 or perhaps high school, middle school, elementary school, whatever that equilibrates to what your country has, I'm pretty sure most of these countries, they support education, and that's crucial because that's where most of our learning happens. We're basically sponges. We're observing this knowledge. But it's important to know that not everyone, right, is on the same playing field. And, John and I recognize this from being here in the United States, that education is different in different countries. The methods used, I mean, the United States stands out for using its own system in terms of measurement. And that really separates us from the rest of the world. But I don't know why that is the case, but it's just one of the instances of how you can learn and basically form these associations in your mind that can perhaps inspire you to continue to do something. And with that, to me, this drive and passion really developed in middle school. And I like to quote Albert Einstein in one of his lines that says, "I have no special talents. I'm only passionately curious." And I think that's something that, disregardless of wherever we are, something that we can all share is this passion for curiosity that, unites us. And especially now, especially with globalization, right? It's becoming crucial as a lot of world problems arise, or even, in your own town, in your own city, there's a lot of issues that require attention. And there's a lot of cool things that you can just explore around you that can relate to science. And that was me in middle school. I was a kid that would see a bird or eat like a worm, for example, when I first saw this, and I would ask, why is that the case? Why doesn't the worm eat the bird? And then I learned about the whole food system and, basically how these other interactions happen. And the coolest thing for me was coming back from school and being able to tell my parents something that I learned that day at school. And I think that's something that, all of us, it just requires no special talent. It's just passion to learn. And, amongst that, when I reached high school, that's when I got involved in science projects. And for me, that was an escape. It was my ability to use my creativity to really ponder on some of the questions that perhaps arise in the classroom or I saw outdoors. And it led me to compete in these science fairs. And I do remember my first project, which was basically relating to my parents' country, which is in Honduras. And here on the right, I have the board. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a picture of myself next to it, but basically what I developed was, and for those of you, it's a really unfortunate, I don't know if you've seen the news, but Honduras recently was hit by a hurricane, and there's a lot of flooding. And actually, looking back at my project, though, my project was basically 3D printing this pot, basically where you could grow crops, and it was at a very micro level. And the reason why I used a 3D printer was this 3D printer was built by a 3D printer, and it was fairly cheap, and the material that was used was fairly cheap. And that's something that, when it comes to countries such as Honduras, it's crucial in terms of cultivating crops. And this plot basically allowed the roots to entangle themselves with support systems. Also had a gravitational fed water system, so farmers wouldn't have to worry about over consumption of water in the case of plants, or in the case of droughts, these plants would still get water. And amongst this, everything that was going on, another cool thing about competing in science fairs, and not only being able to compete, was talking to other people from different high schools around here in Florida. And I was just like a neuron, right? Making connections with everyone at the science fair, looking across different boards and seeing the cool things that they were doing. And I noticed, however, that some people were insanely passionate about their projects as well. Others had an idea, and others were just there because they really enjoyed it. But most importantly, something that struck out to me was that not everyone had the same resources as I had in my high school. And I noticed that there were some projects, right, based on the research, based on the mentorship they received, they were able to carry out their projects further. And by all means, these other students had all the intents and purposes of doing the same. But it's unfortunate, at least here in the United States, that not everyone has equal access to this research. And it was something that really struck to me in my mind. And it was something that I've always carried in the back of my mind when I was in high school. And this happened early when I was in my second year in high school. And, that's where I met my best friend, John. And here on the left-hand side is something that we started and he will continue on speaking about, which is Sciteens. And I think this is a platform, right, that we envision where every single student that comes to it can share and learn from one another in terms of a science perspective, especially now, right, during COVID-19. We really didn't expect the events to happen so quickly, right? This year has been insane for most of us. And just having the opportunity to even be here and present to you guys and, having this opportunity to meet international students is one of the things, right, that we're grateful for science allowing us to enjoy amongst all of us who are just passionate about doing what we love.
Yeah, I think that was definitely put greatly. And going off that topic of COVID-19, there's so much data out there that's open and being able to be worked with and collected freely online. And something that's big with that is actually learning about data science. The process of actually incorporating, wrangling, and then exploring this data. And so, going a bit on an offshoot here, just talking about data science in general. With this COVID data, there's also tons of other open source data out there that any student can really use. And it's about, how do they actually go about using this stuff? And so that's where we come in. So yeah, we can go to the next slide. So this is something I was actually lucky enough to do was back in high school, work with open data and data that we collected as well to run experiments and learn about scientific research. And so I remember using like the R programming language. We were running like statistical models, modeling like population and prey dynamics. And I thought it was a really cool experience just because, I would always like working on computers and I was actually able to now apply this to science, which I found very fun. And so what's interesting about this, the whole field of data science is that it's actually becoming crucial for virtually every field. I thought coding was just related to software engineering itself, but it's actually everywhere now. Literally any field that you look at has some aspect of data science in it. And that I definitely learned that from doing that high school research. And this is a big problem that we found too after talking to a lot of professors and students is that, you're learning coding too late if you're starting in college. And this is because, students just assume, oh, I don't have to have any coding skills if I'm going into, say, biology or, health professions, but that's just not the case at all. You have to have these skills early on so you can actually perform these, data science techniques. Fortunately, Carlson and I were privileged enough to actually go to a high school that taught us a lot of these skills. We learned about like MATLAB, we learned about using Java early on, and that was extremely helpful. And interestingly enough, 60% of schools already have one coding course, though this may not be enough to engage students because it's so limited in the scope of what they're discussing. And so, this definitely led to our current interest in, promoting data science skills through our site, as well as, teaching about these skills. And we'll cover that in a bit. But we definitely wanted to spread the privilege that we had received, when it came to learning about these different coding skills to more students. So moving on to the next slide. this is what we are. We're a free online platform, open to all students. Anyone can sign up, whether you want to be a mentor or if you're a student age 13 to 18, everyone's welcome. And that's what's great about it. You know, you don't have to pay for this. Anyone can sign up at any point, which is phenomenal. Moving on to the next slide, we have over 250 members, which is great. 200 students from not only the United States, but from many, many countries around the world. So, you know, we're getting this nice online community of passionate teen scientists, which is phenomenal. Moving on to the next slide. So this was one of our collaborations that we had. We've had 3 very awesome collaborations, 2 to come. And so this was over the summer. We worked with the Young Scholars Program to actually promote data literacy, which was pretty phenomenal just because, you know, we get the chance to work with high school students and talk about data science skills. And, you know, with this knowledge, we were actually able to see, you know, what's the strengths, what's the weaknesses of like what we're teaching. And we're actually, you know, using that now to, you know, manipulating our initial approach to actually teach another course, which is coming up actually this Monday, which is very cool. So moving on to the next slide. So this is part of our NEON collaboration. So it's a National Ecological Observatory Network, and they provide a massive amount of open source data. So we'll be working with them to actually create a course. And registration ends this Sunday, November 15th. So we're really looking forward to that. And with that, next slide. Yeah, so if you want to get involved, just sign up on our site, which I'll show that off in a minute. So yeah, if you're an international student, 13 to 18, you can sign up as a student, share your research, and get help to get your project started, which is what the whole purpose of the course is itself. And then if you're a college student or above, you can sign up as a mentor to connect with students globally, which is really cool. And so I can go ahead and share my screen now. Perfect. Yep. So this is our homepage. And then down here, you can see we have some like our favorite projects. 2 of these were actually from one of our collaborations with the Science Busters group in Zimbabwe. And these students were phenomenal, super smart and awesome. And they came up with some really cool projects. So I can showcase one of these projects that I really liked. You know, working with like powered rechargeable batteries, you know, creating these awesome things. You know, these are phenomenal students doing amazing work here. And then as well, this is one of the ones from the Young Scholars Program. So they have all the files, like their paper write-up and everything like that, and you can go check that out now. So these are some of our favorites, obviously. I highly recommend you check them out. Super cool stuff. But yeah, once you're here, you can just go and sign up by clicking get started. That's all it takes.
As John mentioned, one of the things, right, where we're trying to do is increase our international presence. And we do understand that it's different. We understand that research is different from a global perspective. And us as college students, we're still learning along with all of you guys. And we ask that if you guys are interested in research, to please sign up, post your project. We connect you with mentors, and some of the mentors that we look for are not only international mentors, not only people who've, like, for example, organized the CYW fair, but we also, especially at my school and John's school, we reach out to our peers. I think peer-to-peer mentorship is crucial because to me, it resonates more talking to someone around my age or someone who's like 2 or 3 years older than someone who's like 40 or 50 years old. Although, yes, they do understand, they probably are experts and knowledgeable about their field. The cool thing is amongst peers, we can learn, and we sometimes feel more comfortable in the sense of collaborating from that perspective. So for those of you who are working on a project or interested, make sure to sign up and help us increase that international presence. Right now, we only have our website in English and Spanish. So we do understand as well that there are a lot more barriers that are out of our hands and in reach, but we're more than eager to see how we can help and see that. Because one thing we've learned for sure, and this has been done with like trial and error, is that when it comes to an international presence, one of the strongest things is like, first, the time difference, of course, and then second is internet signal. It's something that perhaps here in the United States, it's more accessible or perhaps cheaper. And it's difficult because our online platform is highly dependent on the internet, and it's something that we can't control other than making sure our website is running properly. But for those of you who are interested in learning more and helping us figure out the solutions to these problems, let us know, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that a lot of people are aware of Sciteens and what we do. Because for us, we're eternally grateful for going to a school that provided us with the resources. We also want to see more students involved in STEM. We're seeing so many problems arise, such as COVID-19, and it's not going to just take a few biologists in a lab developing a vaccine. It's going to take economists, it's going to take historians, it's going to take mathematicians to essentially find a solution of how we can, for example, distribute the vaccine or move forward and return to some sort of normalcy after this. And at this young age, we're all neurons. We're all waiting to make connections and share the information that we've learned. So for that reason, we thank you for letting us be here at the CYW Fair with all of you. We want to leave some time for questions. I understand that we might be one of the younger speakers, so there might be other questions or some other things that might arise that you may be interested in. But please let us know. And I'll also share my screen again because I have the contact information for those of you who want to reach out to us. You can follow us on Instagram. We're on the YouTube channel. I started the YouTube channel, like John mentioned, and I had the great privilege as well as to interview Omam. So I'll be posting that interview shortly. But for those of you who want to reach out, feel free. We're more than happy to share more of our thoughts and find ways that we can perhaps help you or connect you with people who are interested or passionate about the fields that you're in. Thank you so much.
Thank you for this great lecture. And once again, I can't stress enough how important this kind of collaboration and opportunities for people with not as many opportunities as many of us have had are. It's just extraordinary, incredible. I think we've already got some questions here in YouTube. I'm just waiting to receive it. All right, here it is. So the question is, do Carlos and John think there will be many international projects in collaboration between high school students and the future due to the internet?
Absolutely. We're very confident with that. And most importantly, I think it's being catalyzed because of the events that are happening right now. CYW Fair is a product of what's happening, right? It's an online event. And I believe that when it comes to globalization and really just sharing our knowledge, research itself is going to be vastly dependent on the internet and being able to be spread out and reach to many students. And that's something that John mentioned with like free, data sets, for example. There's so many data sets, and it's something that we want to emphasize with this curriculum that's completely free for students. There's a lot of data sets, a lot of things you can look into the internet, develop projects in that, yes, of course, it requires, some sort of access to internet and having at least like Python, which is a free software that you can download online, and just being able to learn those skills and then share your research online. But I think it's crucial because at least here in the United States, we've noticed that in high school, the research I did in high school doesn't translate to college. Once you reach college, you start doing more research. But the research you do in high school is so valuable for other high school students and for younger generations. That having an online platform where students can look at the projects that were being done in high school and get inspiration or learn more is something that we're all for.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for this answer. And we've got so many questions already coming here. So, one of the questions is a very interesting one, is to ask you, who are both Carl's and John's favorite scientists? So this is always an interesting one.
Oh man, put us on the spot. This is pretty hard. Oh my gosh. I'm not sure. I'll let Carlos take that one first.
To me, Albert Einstein, I think I hinted at that by quoting him. But I think the reason why I love Einstein is he found his theory, the theory of relativity, like working as a clerk. That just shows you the power that being passionate about what you do has. Because, today we associate cool discoveries, significant discoveries with perhaps prestigious universities, but Einstein was just a clerk. Like, he was just passionate about what he did. And to me, this is something that resonates because, coming up, my parents didn't go to college, or they didn't know a lot about science, but it was just me looking around and using the internet, right? I imagine if Einstein had the internet back in the day, he'd probably do the same thing. He'd probably get in trouble because he'd be searching for information. But to me, that's really captivates me, because to this day, it's something that we're all astonished by, the work that Einstein has done.
Okay, I guess in my case, it's between Ada Lovelace and Claude Shannon, who both were pioneers of, computing in the early days. I mean, Ava Lovelace, she really paved the way for even, understanding or theorizing computers. And then Claude Shannon, theorized a lot about information theory, and two very awesome figures in the history of science.
Really great answers. And well, we've got another question from the YouTube channel. And so this one is more related to computer science and machine learning. So the question is, do you think that machine learning and other advanced computer science topics will be indispensable in the future for research in all fields?
I think it definitely could be with the application of data science. It really depends what you're looking into with, which data you're looking at. It may be overkill to use machine learning in some cases, but, in other cases, it may be perfect. For example, if you're doing, ecological research and you're looking for unique species or, conservation work, you're going to want to use like computer vision models to track population movements, but, that may not be as useful as in other fields. So I think it is really a case by case basis. But, that's definitely something we're interested as well. And we're actually planning to look at in the future with our courses.
And we also have an article, I think it's from Zero to Hero, where we focus on artificial intelligence and machine learning and its applications. So if you want to learn more about that, you can find it on Sciteens on the articles section.
Yeah, remember to check Sciteens' website after this lecture. I'm pretty sure everyone is going to have a lot of interest in checking you guys out, because it's a really great project, and I can't stress this enough. Check it out. It's a great opportunity for anyone who's watching it here. We've got another question, which is also quite interesting. So the question goes, what was the reaction of your parents when you told them that you were going to start an initiative like Sciteens? And what was their reaction when you started to inspire people globally? Like, how emotional were they seeing you guys going global?
I guess I'll go first with that. Like for my parents, them seeing me go to college was enough of a sadness to then seeing, for parents, for the most part, they think about our future and our success, and they want us to perhaps pursue a career, become a doctor. Here, at least in the United States, it's like you either become a lawyer or a doctor, or like one of those two. But my parents were very supportive in the end from being able to pursue projects like this, because they've always also, I guess, quoted Einstein, which is like, pursue your passion. And to me, I'm always like extremely grateful for the resources I've had, and I think everyone should have access to it. And I think falling into this global presence I think it was just a wonder that happened. We were thankful. I mean, this all started because of Dr. Chikundi. He reached out to us. That's the beauty of, the internet. He reached out to us, he cold emailed us. And from there, we were not only able to connect with students in Zimbabwe, but from there, we were able to connect with McDonald. And then McDonald connected us with Ohm. And then Ohm connected us with Maria. And then Maria connected us with all of you guys. And this is just like a chain reaction. And seeing, the application and the potential that, as you mentioned, Sciteens has, is something that really struck out to me and my parents in the case, that when they saw that, oh, wow, you're meeting like someone from India or from someone from Zimbabwe. That's crazy. That's so cool. And I thought it was fascinating. And I know I got to thank, like Dr. Chikuni and also Owen, because we've never met in person, yet they took the time to meet with us and give us an opportunity. And together, I mean, the only way we can pursue and continue on is together.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very similar in my case. Like the whole aspect of, following your passion like that. So I think Carlos put it very well there. So same in both of our cases.
Fantastic. So we've got another question here. So if you guys don't mind, I'll ask, which comes from McDonald here on the chat. He asks, due to the digital divide, how is Sciteens working to reach out potential young scientists in remote communities? So this is a very interesting and prominent question, especially for countries with less developed structures.
You know, this is something that we definitely struggle with, is, you know, getting in contact with a lot of these students. And, you know, to even right now, you know, we're definitely looking for new ways to engage these students. You know, one of the easiest ways, like that's openly available, is using social media. But obviously, you know, in different countries, everyone uses different forms of social media. So we're always looking for new avenues to actually engage these students. So, I mean, any of you, even out there in the crowd, if you have, you know, access or friends who would be interested in this, I really urge you to promote this with them, because, you know, there's only so much we can do when it comes to, you know, outreach and engaging students around the world.
And John said it perfectly, and something that we've tried to explore too, and it's I guess a tip for everyone, is there's other nonprofits that do other work that's like non-related to science, but they already have access to these remote communities. That was something that we explored at my university. There's a lot of like PhD students who are trying to do work in, like, for example, remote areas in Argentina, completely unrelated to science, more so perhaps focused on water sanitation. I know in places in Africa, I think there's a group that's doing work in South Africa with some sort of like clinical trials. And we try to like kind of like buckle on, like just stick to them so that they can, you know, pursue their mission, but also spread the word about Sciteens, because they already have those connections in place, and it makes it much easier for us to be able to reach out to them.
Fantastic, fantastic. And so we've got another question, which is from a student entering high school. Yeah. So he asks, he wants to ask, should I just focus on the day-to-day academics or high school, I presume in grades, or try to pursue research after I get to know enough stuff? My teachers are not very enticed by the idea that I, as a high school student, want to pursue research. So that's why what he's asking here.
Yeah, I think for a student, and I think John has definitely done more research than me, but this is something that even for me as a high school student, I struggled with, is that balance between academics and pursuing projects. But what I did learn, right, is if you're pursuing a project, for example, in my case, I did something related to environmental engineering. I need to learn the foundations first before I was able to carry out my projects. And it's something that academics and research, it ties together, because you might go into academics first in terms of, you know, studying the basics, which is perfect, because then when you carry out a project, you already understand the background knowledge. Or perhaps you want to be more, I guess, a risk taker and just dive into the project, which is perfectly fine as well. But then you're always going to have to come back to the basics, because there might be a question where it's like, why did this happen? Or I don't understand how to build this, or I don't know like how to write a differential equation to be able to explain this. Things like that basically bring you back onto the academic side. So in my opinion, John might have a different opinion. I think just focusing first a bit on building the foundations, but then going into what you're passionate about, which is doing research, is the path that I took, and was helpful.
Yeah, I think that's well put, and it's definitely, like you said, it's hard to balance these two things. But I definitely recommend getting at least some research experience in, if possible. I mean, it can be hard to do, but, you know, you can sign up on our site and we'll help you with that.
Great. So we're not having any other questions here, but I've got one question for you guys. So you stressed the very relevant gain that that students get from participating in these projects under mentors such as you guys and other people that you involved in their projects. But I wanted to ask you, on the other side, what do the mentors get from it? Is it just the pleasure of helping someone else, or do the mentors really get real life benefits from helping out these younger students pursuing their goals?
This is something interesting, and I'm glad you mentioned this because it was something we were like thinking about at first. Is like, how do we actually incentivize mentors to go about, offering their time on this platform? Like, what would drive them to do this? And after speaking to like a lot of mentors who had done scientific work in the past, advising students through their research projects, it turns out a lot of them love working with students, especially like high school and early collegiate students, just because of the amazing ideas that they have. They say like when you're young, you have like your best ideas, you're your most creative, and scientists definitely stand to benefit from a lot of that. And I think that's why they enjoy working with students, because they see things in different ways that someone who's been working in a field for 10, 20, even 30 years can't really see, because they don't have this different perspective. So working with young students offers you these new perspectives that can actually help you in your research as a mentor as well.
And another thing that we've been like with mentors is most of the time they're, like I mentioned before, like college, we try to reach out to college students, and in John's case, like he's done a great job reaching out to professors at his university. With college students, always are involved in clubs where they have like this community service aspect, or they have like this they're trying to get involved with communities to also spread their mission. And that's something that I've taken leverage of. I think for example, we had one student from MIT graduated. His name is Federico. He mentored one of the projects from Zimbabwe, and he's actually from Zimbabwe as well, but he was involved in the African Student Association. And he just did that because he was not only interested in helping, but for the sake of his club, and also seeing the community involvement he was involved in.
Great. So we're more or less running out of time. So I've been asked to ask you guys this last question, which is very much related to your lives and your aspirations as well. So the question goes, do you guys want to become scientists in the future, or what are your goals for the future? Like, you're already doing really interesting stuff, so what does the future hold for you?
I'll go first. Yeah, for me, definitely want to pursue going to graduate school. So here it's either getting a PhD or a master's, but it's looking more towards a PhD, given that I'm studying biological engineering. But to me, it's something that I find the irony, because unfortunately I wasn't involved in research this year, but here I am promoting research. So I want to get more involved, and hopefully it's something that I want to pursue. I think it's so cool being able to just dive into a project and find different aspects that interest you.
I think that's the ultimate goal as well for me. Considering grad school, master's, or even PhD is definitely going in that direction.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And just as a final thing for our meeting, I would just like to ask you guys, everyone here, to turn their cameras on, those who are able to, just for us to take a short, just a small group picture, I'd say, to capture this moment. And once again, thank you guys so much for joining us and for sharing with us and with all these people that you're helping out. The amazing science projects you guys have been doing. So thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right, so more people are joining. We'll just wait a few more seconds. right? So yeah, I guess I'll take the screenshot now. So you guys make a smile. All right, fantastic. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone who came as well. Thank you so much.
All right, so we're about to leave the room. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. It was amazing.
Thank you once again.
All right, see you later. Thank you so much.